my lovely individuals. I have been debating on what to do for my next project on the channel. Bigger project. I'm not like insanely bigger, but just something that is bigger than doing a YouTube short. I want to make a Pokemon, and since I'm a weirdo, I want to make one of my favorite Pokemon, Sizzlipede. So, yeah. I don't know why I love this little guy so much, but he's an absolute cutie. And I just want my own little wiggly buddy, my own little wiggly Sizzlipede. So that's what we're doing. So I guess the first step is to pull out all of my Sizzlipede and his evolution Sentry Scorch cards out, and let's look at them and see what the structure of a Sizzlipede is. Sound good? Let's get into it. Okay, I found all of my Sizzlipede and Sentry Scorch cards. So, what I've kind of figured out, based on the information I have here, is Sizzlipede is more like a little noodle, and Sentry Scorch is more like segmented. But I want to make Sizzlipede a tiny bit segmented, because I'll eventually probably make a Sentry Scorch. And so we're going to need basically red, brown, and yellow for his little lovely little details. Like, as you can see, he's got these little nubby arms, little circles on his thing, and some easy to make facial features. So more it's about designing his little segments to make it look like how it's supposed to. And there's apparently a yellow dot under there for some reason, so I gotta remember that. But yeah, it should be fairly simple making squares and segmenting them off, so we'll kind of make a general blueprint and see how that looks. I just think he looks so cuddly. My favorite Pokemon is Slugma and Macargo, so I don't know, something about buggy fire creatures I enjoy. Okay, so the general plan for his body is to make like a square that goes this way with the stitches, and then add on basically 2 panels that go this way, and have the same thing, basically the exact same thing, on the brown side, and that'll constitute one little segment. So I gotta do that how many times? That'll basically be a magic circle untightened with single crochets, which makes sense in my head, but it'll be hard to, you know, explain until I show you, and make little nubby cones for each segment. So we need to do times 5 of that for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yes. And then there'll be kinda like a U structure basically for the butt and for the head, which will also have around it a couple rows just to thicken it up like that, because there isn't a brown side on them. So it'd be times 2 of these segments. And he has his little mustachy kind of things times 2. And his lovely little eyes, which I'll try to crochet, but might need felt for that one. Yeah, and then he's got like little symbols and stuff that we'll deal with, like how he is that a mouth or a dot? I don't know what that is, but there's something yellow under his little face there. And he has, yeah, a little triangle on his head, so we gotta do the head triangle as well. I think there's only one of that. But yeah, when you divide all up the segments, it seems like it should be pretty easy. But the key factor to this is I want to make it look divoted in between each one of these sections. So in between each one of those sections, I'm going to basically make a little black panel that on the outside rim is going to be essentially two different flaps that can kind of sew into each section of Le Sizzlipede. If my very crude diagram helps you, that would be awesome, but I don't blame you if it doesn't. So I'll show you when we get there. But I'm thinking that's the basis for how we're going to structure this little bad boy. So let's get into it. I'm in the middle of making all the panels for my lovely Sizzlipede. I already made his Dorito, and I figured show you how to make these little mustache slash butt stash pieces. And I've kind of wrote it down, if anybody can read that, because I know a lot of people can't read those kind of patterns. But what I've been doing for him is I have been making a double thick chain. So I've just been like straight up just doing this. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The 10 for the base. And then the extra for there. And then a slip stitch. A single crochet. A half double crochet. A double crochet. A triple crochet. Another triple crochet. Then back down to a double, a half double, a single, and a slip. And that's how I'm making his little mustache and butt stashes. But let's get into making the rest of the panels. I basically just got to make the eyes and the little nubbies. His little walkie fingers. I did end up deciding to use felt to create his eyes, as I think it looks a little bit more cohesive for the piece. I begin the conjoining sections by chaining 15. Then I put a single crochet on both the top and the bottom of the stitch in a circular pattern, making sure to put 5 stitches in both of the corners. I do another row of the circular pattern, but I add 3 stitches in each corner this time. Then I add another row in front loop only of single crochet with 3 stitches in each corner. And then we'll add 1 on the back loop only. So it ends up being a panel with 2 flaps I can connect to each side. Sorry the yarn had to be black, I understand that it was very hard to see. The final piece is to cut the foam, so I decided to try out my newly acquired gift, the hot knife. After thoroughly reading the instructions, I figured out how to make it work, but I couldn't get the temperature quite right, so it almost burnt the foam a little bit, sadly. Each piece needed 2 inches of foam, and I only had 1 inch foam, so I just cut 2 pieces for each piece. Next time, I will definitely cut this stuff with scissors, but if I need to use this in the future, I'll definitely do it outside, I promise. Then after about, maybe 11 minutes, the foam was all cut, and we're ready to stitch everything together. Now that all that lovely cutting is done, we have all of our little pieces, our little joiners, our little loopies, and I tucked in all the strings because I want to try sewing it together with clear thread. I want to see how that looks. I think it'll look better in the long run. A little bit more work on my end, but I think it'll be worth it. So let's get into the final finishing process. As you can see, I did decide to use felt for the eyes, and I switched to matching colors of thread because sewing with the clear thread is like sewing with fishing line. I didn't film it, but what I did for the little circular patches on his belly is I just made chains and sewed them in. It was so much easier. And I used 3 different colors of yellow to kind of give it that multicolored effect. I started with the little guy's head, and by far he is so cute, and I am so pleased with how squishy he is. Foam is like the perfect for any like flat creature. It took about 3 days to sew them together with the thread, and here's his little sandwich-like pieces all piled up together. Such a cutie. My little guy has his little legs, and I had to make 2 more at this point because apparently I can't count to 12. So, now he's got all of his wigs. Connecting his little sandwiches together was honestly kind of frustrating, but with some sewing clips and some time, I maneuvered it. He proportionally looks correct in the end, but I never did realize how long he would be at the end of this. Finally, we need to attach his little noggin. I ladder stitched everything together, and it's time for that beautiful bean footage. Okay, so as far as my little Sizzlipede project, or Sizzlipede, Centipede, Sizzlipede, I guess. I don't know, I've probably been saying it wrong this whole time. Feel free to yell at me in the comments. But yeah, I like it. I think he's cute. He's so squishy. And he's like a good neck rest. I've been using him as a neck rest on my desk. But yeah, I'd love to make more Pokemon. Like I said, Slugma and Macargo are some of my favorites. I love Centiskorch, and like there's a bunch of other Pokemon I absolutely love. Obviously, I collect the cards, not like actively, but more passively at this point. But I'd like to do more of that. I wish this project didn't take 2 weeks, but it is what it is. I need to do more drawing projects because I need to get out of my mental funk with the drawing stuff, because every time I draw, I just end up getting like really upset and hating everything. So I need to stop doing that. And because when I do that, I just commit myself to a very large project that I know I'll be good at, hence why I've been doing so much big crocheting projects. So, yeah, more drawing practice. I've been getting really into D&D stuff lately, so we might do some D&D-esque projects because I think it's fun, and you might like it. So, yeah. I'm assuming I'll be doing something drawing next week, but we'll see if I get depressed or not. Please like, comment, and subscribe, because as you know, it always helps out. And see y'all next time. Bye! Bye!